All right, part 3 and final part of the major progress on the E46. Now, what we need to do, I was going to be sending it off to a shop to do all the lines and hoses. I've decided, nah, I'm gonna do it myself. So we've got a bunch of braided line here, AN fittings, we've got a bunch of banjos, etc, etc, etc. So what we need to do is the water feed and return, oil feed and return to the turbo. We need to do the high pressure line to the power steering pump. We need to do the transmission cooler lines, and we'll be doing the AC lines as well. So at the end of this video, everything will be buttoned up, everything will be completed. All we'll need to do is make an exhaust, and then it goes off for wiring and off for tuning. So let's dive in and get some water lines done. All right, so we're going to be doing AN6. This turbo has 4 water ports. I thought I could go in and out of the same side. Turns out that's not what you do. I was doing a bit of research, and you feed in the bottom side, and you, like the return is out the top side. So we're going to have to come down from here, that fitting right there. So we'll take this hose off, obviously. It's going to come out of there, up and into the bottom port, and then out the top port. It's going to be a weird little setup, but I might even do a 90. I'll have a look at my fittings. I've got straights, 90s, 45s, all that kind of stuff. Obviously these are going to be up here kind of thing. So this one can shoot out the side, probably a 90 to be fair, and then it can loop under this, under here, and then into one of these, whichever one it kind of works with best. Probably the back one to be fair. Into there, sorted. Now obviously it'll just be hose clamped on here, but I did get like one of those little, like, I never wanted to use them. They're like hose clamps that look like the AN fitting, but it's just to finish it off because it's a braided line, you know. So I've got one to go on there, and then obviously one to go on down there as well. So let's start with that. All right, so it's too hard to access to put the fittings on. It's just going to be a nightmare. So turbo's coming out, which is pretty easy. It was only with one bolt. I need to take the turbo out anyway because I haven't got the gasket in, etc, etc. So yeah, turbo's coming out. I'll put the water fitting in that side, water fitting in that side. I'm actually going to put the oil return fitting on as well, which is on the underside, like under here. And then I can pop it back in and actually torque it all down. And then, it's stuck to me. So yeah, when I put it back in, we'll have a fitting in the bottom there, in the top there, and then we can start running these AN lines. All right, let's do this. All right, so I did a lot off camera because the threads on the manifold weren't tightened up. I had to take the gasket, like the tape out from the gasket face. I've marked off where these 2 ports are going to go, so I've got to drill those out, etc, etc. But I did get this, the return made. So you can see the returns here. It's going to sit on that angle right there, loop under here, and then pop onto there. So I have checked it all out. It does work with that, etc, etc. So it's going to be nice and tidy there, which I'm pretty happy with. And then these will be over the top of it, like so. I'm going to change those to this stuff because that looks just average. I don't like it. Now we have to do the feed, which has to come out here, down, under, and up to there, which is fine, but I don't know whether I should do a 45 or a straight out. Straight out, obviously I'll be bending the hose to get it around. 45, I almost like can't get a nut on the turbo, so I'm feeling like a straight is going to be the best option, because a straight means that I can't actually get my hand in there for it like quickly. A straight means that I'd be able to put the like hose on, have it like nipped up out of the car for ease of install, and then just put that end on when it's in. So I can put it in, put the nut on that and do it up. Otherwise it's like half and half, so it's a pain. Hold on. Yeah, if I go straight, there's heaps of room, and then I can just kind of come out bend it down here and under. I think that's going to be the go. I'm getting rained on yet again, but whatever. Let me just take that out and have a better look. All right, so I think that was very successful. As you can see, we've got the straight joiner in here. Oop, a little bit of light on the subject. Straight joiner in here. Now that fitting isn't completely nipped up because I don't have the crush washer yet, but it's there obviously because we needed it. This one, the 90 works as long as we it will be nipped up to there. So it just clears, and then that's going to come under and into here. The other one goes under that pipe above the radiator hose and into where it needs to go. So that's great. Water lines essentially are done. I'm not going to nip them up right this second because I need to do the oil feed and return. Now, oil feed is on its way. You guys will see that in a minute. I'm just waiting for it to rock up. Oil return is this fitting right here. And conveniently, this, I'm going to clean it up. This was actually the return from the Mambo kit for the twins, and it actually works. So the way it would feed is slightly on an angle there, come down kind of back there under the manifold, and then in front of the engine mount, and that's the return right there. So that's really convenient. That saved me a lot of money and a lot of headaches getting that done. I can just nip those all up, so that's good. But obviously I need to get all that in before I put it in. So I'd like to install this, install that line onto that and nip it up out of the car, and then just pop it all in kind of like there, you know, so the line's just sitting at the back, and then I can just route the line down there and nip it up. That's done. And then obviously I'll have this one nipped up, this one nipped up, and I'll probably have the feed nipped up as well, because that's going to come out of here on a 90, come down, essentially follow this line just next to there. I might even cable tie them together just because it's nice. Actually probably won't, but whatever. And then the return, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a bolt just there. Under that bolt that you can see, there is a bolt that is actually the oil feed. So not too bad, right? Once I've done that, obviously turbo will go on for the final time with the gasket, nip it all up, torque it all down correctly, and then it's just making the exhaust. All right, turbo's mounted. Nice, stoked. This will sit here very nicely. Water line is down in place. Oil return is actually so good. So weird little scenario, it's got a little bend on it, just there. When I put just that in, it was touching here, not good. But I did have a 45. So I put the 45 up there, pulled that angle out, pulled out here, and I used to have a 45 down there, but I don't anymore, because if I move my power steering line slightly, which I did, that U-bend, I could put the straight in, which meant it comes up here and doesn't actually touch anything. It's not touching the intercooler pipe, it's not touching the frame rail, nothing. It's actually like the perfect line. So that turned out really, really well. I have bolted the turbo down. I have torqued it down, which was a mission. That one back there, you little bastard. I had to, so they're 15 mil. You had to get a 16 and move it like 1/8, then a 15, then flip the 15, and then the 16, and then the 15, and then flip the 15. And oh my God, I swear it took me 20 minutes just to do that one bolt. But now it is all torqued down. It's on the motor. It's good. I'm stoked. We've got our clearances back here. So obviously we're gonna come out with an angle straight away, shoot straight down there. Done. Internal wastegate makes it easy for the lack of real estate that we've got. Obviously, this is going to pop on here. This will pop on here. Delicious. And then, what else we got? Obviously the feed line, and I'll probably wrap that. I'll probably wrap this one too. I'm not going to worry about that or this one because they're not close enough to ridiculously hot things. I do have some wrap coming, so we'll do that later in the video. For now, let's go drill some holes in this. So I'm going to drill the holes in this, right? So obviously I don't want them sitting like that and then one down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill the hole for it so it's ready for my mate who can weld it. This one I'll probably leave on exactly that angle, but then this one I'm going to kind of grind the corner off so that it also sits up on the angle, and they both sit nicely kind of like parallel, because as you can see, I know it's all off at the moment. There will be a beanie on here. I've said it in every video, but I just want everyone to know, because obviously this is going to sit very close to it, but they'll sit like that. And now that they have their little brackets on them, they sit exactly parallel, which is really tidy. And then I've got the hose for this. I'll actually get that ready and pop it on right now, just so that we can see the vision. Okay, so let me go cut that and then I'll drill this. Okay. All right, so you see my vision. So holes are cut, breathers essentially going to be good there. Now something I can do right now, I obviously modified this, so I need to nip that hose clamp up, nip this one up, or put one here and nip it up, put one here and nip it up, and then it's literally going to be that one right at the end where you just pop it off, pop it on. So let's just go through and throw some cable ties on. I can take this off. Cable ties, ooh, hose clamps. All right, now let's have a look down here. Obviously, oil cooler for the transmission. We need to come out of here, which is a -10, as far as I'm aware, and out of here, which is -10, down to a -6. So, all good, got these. So, I need to install those and then have a look what fitting we're going to use to kind of route backwards. I'm thinking a 180 to go back here, and I'm thinking like a 90 out of there, because the 90s are very short, which should clear us here, hopefully. I know we've got that as well, but I may just need to grind that out a little bit more, but whatever. Down behind here, and then like kind of like down there, and then follow the two lines together back to the actual transmission. But for a starter, let's get these in and have a look at these fittings. All right, so this is getting inconvenient. As you can see, the bumper has to go through there, like locates there, and there's a slight bit of plastic that sits here. This is literally the only place that this fits. That's nice, that works well, you know. But yeah, I don't know, because the 90 obviously will bolt onto here and then it just covers all of it. Whereas yeah, this, like, it does sit slightly out, and it's plastic on metal, so it's not really gonna like rub it away. If anything, like the bumper will get like dented, like that bracket. But I don't know, I don't like this because it's not 100%. Let me have a think on it. All right, stoked. A bunch of parts rocked up. So this is a M12 to AN6 for power steering. On the pump side, this is a 14, so this is rack side, so I can now make that line, which is sick. We have 14 by 1.5 to AN6. These are into the gearbox, so then I can make obviously the lines from the gearbox to the cooler, which I'm still trying to figure out the whole cooler mounting thing, but I think I'm just going to have to lift it slightly and adjust the bracket, but then I've got to make sure it doesn't hit the bumper. So we'll get into that in a minute. I also got the crush washers for the water lines onto the turbo, so we can finalize those. And these are for the washer bottle. So before I do anything, I'm going to get, look how messy this is. Oh, this is doing my head in. I'm going to put a U-bend on the end of this, because I know that the M14 side of the power steering high pressure line bolts in like that, and then U-bends this way and goes kind of under the onto the rack. So I'm going to do that, and then we can mount this side and pretty much just like cut to length. So let's do that first. All right, so obviously done that. It's the U-bend, and that's the orientation of how it goes. So that's all tight, which is great. But I'm an idiot, and that isn't what size the pump is. It's this, which is an M16. So I need to get an M16 to AN6, which is fine, because I can do everything anyway, and you guys will see it in this video. So there's the length. I just need to cut that, and then obviously fit another fitting on. I have to start on a 45 because the bolt comes out of the pump on a 45, so that will shoot it directly down. I've got some P-clamps, so I'll be P-clamping this onto the original clamps on the rack, which is, or bolts on the rack, which is great. So yeah, let's go and cut this, fit it off, and yeah, we can bolt that in when that rocks up in a couple of days. And there we go. So connected down the bottom, and then we've got a nice little 45 here, so that's going to sit there, straight into that fitting. Done. So now, one thing I need to bring up with you guys is this. So this essentially, when you're idle, it puts a little bit of extra air past the throttle body to keep your idle up. Apparently it pretty much does F all. I spoke to my most trusted shop, WTF Auto, over in WA, and he was like, every time I've deleted it, I haven't even noticed a difference. So he goes, you can delete it if you want. I'm going to delete it because it just makes a big headache. You've got to run like a double banjo and then blah, 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 blah. If I'm not going to notice it, let's just get rid of it, right? Simplify things. So I'm going to probably just join these two. Then, you know, it's much of a muchness, or I'll block them off. Whatever the case, I'm not running it, okay? So, power steering line, essentially done. I just ordered the M16 by AN6, so that'll bolt straight onto there, that'll bolt onto there. I have P-clamps, a whole kit of P-clamps on the way, just to make everything nice and tidy as I continue to do this build and so on and so forth. So I'll put them on. I'm trying to put this somewhere, it's not gonna just fall. So power steering lines are done. Now, jumping back to here, I was like, what am I gonna do, what am I gonna do? I did jump online and I found an AN6 to AN10 orb fitting. So it's essentially, it's just gonna sit there. It finishes like here and it comes out with, it's almost like a banjo fitting, but it's got like a washer in here, the same way as this has a washer in here. So it'll screw into here, and then it'll probably only stick out to like there, which is perfect, like where my nail is, and then it'll come straight down. So then we'll run a hose down. This one will down here will be a U shape, so it'll come down, probably back there. This one will come up back there, join them together, run them back. This fitting is just rocked up, so we're gonna chuck that in there, and then we can run our lines. I'm hoping I've got enough line left. As for how I'm going to run it, now, obviously I want to avoid the exhaust, which is gonna be right there. Now, right there is where my lines come from. So hopefully, like I said just then, hopefully I've got enough length in the line, but I'm thinking of coming forward, jumping this way, just at the bell housing, then coming maybe up here, running under the engine, because I've got some mounting points. I could put some P-clips, so we could run just next to the engine there, across the engine, and then in here. So I'm gonna need like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 foot probably. I don't have enough, but I can run one. So let's go and run our first one. So as you can see, the lines come up here, P-clamps there, P-clamps there, then it shoots back. Now obviously you can see that's hanging down there. It won't be. Under, behind the bell housing and before the sump of the gearbox. I'll try and get you down there. Oh. You can see those holes there. Those holes are M10 by 1.25. The P-clamps, the biggest I can bore them out to is 8 mil. So I've got some M10 by 1.25 to M8 by 1.25. I can bore the P-clamps out to M8, and then we can put 4 P-clamps in there. 2 will be, if you can think of how P-clamps work, the top of the P will be aiming upwards for these 2 lower ones, so we can keep the lines as far away from the ground as possible. All right, so hoses are done. This fitting finally came in, and look how close that sits. Like, that could not be more perfect. So that's sick. I would love to have this on the back of it, but it just doesn't fit because there's the aircon. I'm not sure what it's called, but there's like an aircon thing back here. So I do want aircon on this car. It will be getting aircon. We've got to do the lines. I'm going to do that probably just later. No big deal. But transmission cooler lines are done. I've got to throw like 4 P-clamps underneath and we're done. All right, so off camera I did a couple of boring things. I've wired this plug here, obviously all the way across here. There's another plug there, up there, and then now that is wired up, which is great. Also, I've run a new vacuum line, which comes from the back there. So you can see it goes from here, obviously the plenum, up, back, all the way back around there and into the wastegate. So that'll be the actuator for the wastegate. And then I've also run some water lines. So extra water line here, the one from the back as well. I've heat wrapped that. I've heat wrapped the heater core hoses, just some boring things that I know you guys didn't really want to watch. So got them done, but now we have the overflow, which is this, which is great. So the plan is to have this sit around about here. Obviously I need to mount it correctly and so on. We've got the hose at the bottom that's already there. Water line here, water line here. So they'll be going into these, obviously. And then we do have an overflow. Now, the overflow itself, I don't really know where I'm gonna do that. I might just do what some cars do and just have a little hose like kind of aiming down at the floor. So if it does go, you know, over the top, it goes down there. I do have an overflow, which I was considering running another hose all the way around the back and mounting it back there somewhere, but I don't know. I'm still playing with that idea. But for now, we need to make a little bracket to run off of these two, mount this here, and put all of those hoses onto it. So let's cut these to length and get them on. And there we go, she's in. Now this is the actual overflow. So this is a swell pot and this is the overflow for the swell pot, right? So I'll just have to drill a little hole in here for obviously pressure release. But you can see what I mean. Like there's no room here. I could route something up back there and maybe like mount it like there or something, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but as far as I have been told, these are actually set to such a high pressure that nothing ever comes out of that. Now, I don't know if it's these on these swell pots, but I do know it's some of the aftermarket alley radiators. They're at such a high pressure, they never open. The one on the Supra never opens ever. So my actual overflow never gets any coolant in it. But obviously that's gonna be cooked if it just like does do that and all over the engine. So at worst case, I'll run a hose like out here and just like down there onto the floor. So if there's a little bit of, you know, it can just go on the floor or whatever, like some cars do. Now, you may have noticed, I also changed those. So they are the new breather silicons. Obviously, they're gonna be like that. So then once it's done, it will sit there really nicely. Again, remember, gonna be a beanie on that, so ignore that. So I'm actually really happy with how everything is. I know it's messy, and I know it's busy over here, but you need these things. Like I just need this amount of stuff for it to work, right? You need a swell pot, but well, I need a filler. The other option would have been to like get the Chase Bays version of the filler net, of the like the water neck, which has a filler on it, which is very tidy, yes, but like you guys will know if you've been following the build, I'm trying to do all of this myself from home. The only things I'm not doing are things I physically can't do. I don't just want to go out and buy the catalog build of, oh, I'll just spend 20 grand on Chase Bays stuff. Side note, Chase Bays, I know you do amazing stuff. If any of you are watching this or anyone that loves Chase Bays, they do make really good stuff. I just wanted to do it myself because it's what we do this YouTube channel for. So that is our solution. Also, it saves me from having to plug up 2 water ports, right? So that's pretty much done. Now, this is gonna get done when the exhaust gets done in the next video. So the next video is gonna be the exhaust, because by the end of this video, we're gonna be done. We're gonna be at the point that we can put oil in, we can put coolant in, we can put transmission fluid in. Let me just go through it with you, all right? Radiator, connected, there. Also down the bottom, connected there, that's connected at the bottom there, and connected at the bottom there. Water hose to there, water hose to there, from the turbo to the front one, and from the front one of this to the turbo. So that is, and also heater core connected, down to the valve, So water-wise, we're completely sealed on the engine. Oil-wise, we are also completely sealed. except for this one line here, which I do have. I'm just waiting for the heat protection sleeve that I'll put over it, and then we'll run that down. So the return is done and actually heat wrapped, as you can see there. So then we're gonna do that, and then the engine will be sealed as per oil. Power steering, done. That's fitted. This is on. That's all fitted up. They're on. It's fitted down the bottom on the rack. So power steering, done. We can fill that up as well. Got to do a joiner on that, and then washer bottle will be done because that is now wired. Boring, but wired. Yeah, we're getting real close, boys. All right, my OCD got the best of me, and I have mounted the overflow down here, across, up, and braided line into there. So that's all finished completely now and properly. Look, it might hold the pressure and it might not. Like, maybe you will get really warm and like push the pressure up, and at that point, I'm glad I'll have a little, how you going? And people might be like, oh, you can't have it there because it'll like siphon it out. Well, it won't, because it's only going to do it when it releases the pressure, you know what I mean? When that's not releasing any pressure, it's not going to shoot anything down there. So should be fine, shouldn't be an issue. If you are a scientist and you actually have, there's a bug in my hair, reason to tell me that I'm wrong, let me know. Or if you're actually a performance shop watching this, I don't know why a performance shop would watch me, but hey, if you are, and I'm doing it wrong, let me know. But I'm pretty sure it's just overflow, so it's just like worst case scenario, things get really warm and it squirts a little bit in there, so should be sweet the way. I also trimmed this up on an angle so it will sit nicely like that. So we'll weld that one on like that, that one on like that, so they'll sit parallel, look very good, very nice, and then that'll sit on there, and then that'll be parallel with that. And I tidied up in here a little bit, so our water line is now clipped up. I've put this panel back in because it fits. Did have to do a little bit of trimming back there to make it fit nicely and have the covers fit. This was really hard to get on, so I'm actually leaving that there. The guys that are wiring, they can just like undo the 2 bolts and lean it forward a little bit to access, because with the radiator hose, it's very tight. But I'm never going to need to get in there unless I'm at a point that I'm like, okay, let's pull the radiator, I guess. Yeah, so like we're pretty much at a point, like accelerator cable's done. That was just like bent that out, put that in, and you know, made this work. What else we got? Obviously, I've just got to put a barb on there, so like don't worry about that. Just consider that done. I think I spoke about that earlier in the video. Sorry, but this is like, I'm doing this over a few weeks so that you guys get this car running, well, this car finished at my end at the end of this video, apart from the exhaust. So exhaust does need to get done. I've got my one-way valve here for the brake boost vacuum line. Obviously, you don't want to boost your brake booster, ironically. It just wants vacuum, so when we hit boost, that will block off. As soon as I'm out of boost, you'll get vacuum again, so that's all good. That's all nice and tidy back here as well, as you can see. I did just have the cover on, but I'm not going to show you guys that until obviously it's all wired, because my Patreons get to see that, but you guys don't. I'm sorry. All right, finally, the heat sleeving for the oil feed line has turned up, which I've been waiting for a little bit, so that's great. Obviously, that goes on here. It's going to bend back, go down, and then into the feed, which is down there. Banjo fitting down there, which has obviously the 4AN, because, or AN4, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. So I have 2 options of how I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to have the AN fitting kind of facing like that, so that this kind of loops nicely into it. But I want to make sure that when I put it in, this line doesn't obviously touch there, because that is our wastegate and that needs to move. This arm needs to move back and forth. So yes, the other thing I'm going to be doing right now is putting this in. I've been waiting for this line to rock up. This is the break-in lubricant for this turbo. I'm pretty sure I avoid my warranty if I don't use it or something like that. At the same time, obviously, when this motor does start, we are going to prime the oil pump. Obviously not have the like fuel pump relay in. We'll pump it, get all the oil pressure up and nice before we do start anything, but this will go in first, okay? So aeroflow, just in case you think I'm not putting it in, I am. So I'm gonna go get my tools, I'll put that in, and then we can put this line on, and we're almost done, boys. All right, that's on nice and perpendicular, parallel, whatever. Like, looks good. Sits there, sits nice. Nipped up there, nipped up down there. Spring washers, like crush washers on both. I actually just want to double check. I've got a crush washer on the back there. Now, this here looks a bit spaghetti, and I'm not a big fan. It needs to be done right this moment for this to just get running. But my plan is to buy another one of these. The exact same thing, but I'm going to get this port here cut off and placed there, so it lines up perfectly. And I'll cut this port off and do the same there. So essentially you'll have one hose coming out to there, which is fine. And then this one and this one will both go back that way, and it will look a lot less spaghetti and a lot tidier. So that will be just a tidy up thing later on once the car's running, once we've got everything happening. Obviously, unless there's a big delay, I may go and do it earlier. If there's an alley welder out there who wants to have a play with this, you're probably going to have to cut this top off, turn it, and then obviously weld it like that way. And this one you're just going to have to like lob, and then it's literally like you cut that off and just like angle it that way and weld it back on. It's not hard. I just can't alley weld. So if there's an alley welder in here in Melbourne, maybe Melbourne North, who wants to help us out, give you a shout out on the channel, I don't know, work with me, help us out, help your boy out. I have a very awkward scenario that's happened, and I'll tell you the story. So it's really frustrating me, but whatever. I have a friend who has my hubs, an acquaintance that has my hubs, and they have gone AWOL and they will not get back to me. It's been 4 months and they're ignoring me. They had my swell pot, they had my hubs, and they had my part of my exhaust. I've bought a new part of the exhaust to replace it. I've bought another one of these to replace it. These hubs are expensive, so I'm really hoping that they do reach out to me and give me my parts back, because to change the wheels, I need to change the hubs, and at the same time I need to change the brakes. But to put the brakes on, I can't do that until I've got the new wheels on, which mean I have to do the hubs. So it's like this has to happen before that can happen, and that can happen, and so on and so forth, right? Now, I can get this car completed and everything. I'll bleed the brakes, because obviously we've had the rear subframe out, so there's no brake fluid in. I'll bleed the brakes, get this wired, tuned, running, everything. And then at that point, then I'll bite the bullet and go and buy new hubs, because clearly this person is going to keep my hubs. But I'm really hoping that they're just going to do the right thing and be like, hey man, sorry, I just haven't been talking to you for 4 months and ignoring every single text, phone call, and chance for you to reach out to me. So I've got a little bit of hope left that they're going to do the right thing. But if not, I have to go and fork out the money for new hubs. And like the front hubs have bearings in them. I do still have my bearings for the rears, but I've got to get a new set of rear hubs. They were going to be re-drilling them for me. I don't care, I just want them back so I can send them out to Tin God and he can re-drill them for me, because he's lined up. So yes, that's a very frustrating story for me. Just more cost going down the toilet, but whatever. Hopefully they do the right thing. But for now, it's time to get under there and put this trans bracket on, because in your time it will be here. Other quick side note I wanted to tell you all, the hose that I got for the AN fittings and everything, this stuff's good. Like, it's 500 psi working, 2000 psi bursting, but if you know anything about power steering, you know that's not enough. So I have actually got an upgraded to, I think it's 1000 and 5000 bursting. So 1000 working, 5000 bursting, 10,000 psi fittings. So yeah, now this is upgraded, and I'm actually going to do another one for the Supra, which you guys have already probably seen that video. I don't know, depends how it all lines up. But yes, that is upgraded. So if anyone saw that and was like, I hope he's got a high enough rated one, thank you, Trusty, for reaching out and letting me know that I do need to upgrade that. So I did. So that's much higher quality than this stuff. But this stuff's still good for 500 PSI. Like, if I'm running 500 PSI out of this, everything else is blowing up first, you know? Like, nothing else is gonna be running at 500 PSI. The oil pressure isn't 500 PSI, the turbo, like nothing else is. So the highest thing is gonna be the power steering, which is just over 1,000, as far as I'm aware, or 1,000 at absolute full lock, like peak. So yeah, upgraded to 5,000 bursting instead of 2,000 bursting, just to be sure. Good news, great news. I have got the adapter for the transmission done. Now, my mate was gonna send it over from Perth, and the poor bloke, it was like 40 degrees over there, and his CNC machine was like tripping out his house and stuff. So there's plasma cut up. Anyway, I was walking around, right? So let me take you for a little stroll. All here the other week was like bin bags and rubbish and just crap everywhere. Like all here, like literally stacked up to here, because I've been like buying like dining tables and chairs, and the boxes just last, and like stuff we ripped out of the BMW, all that, right? Anyway, I've come through, I've cleaned everything, got a skip bin, threw everything out. But the one thing I didn't throw out was sitting right here, right? And it was a little bracket. And it was the original bracket from the A340 that connected to, I'm guessing, the Mark II Blit that it came out of, because it's quite a new box. And I don't know why I didn't throw it out, because I was like, I'm never gonna use that again, but I didn't throw it out. Anyway, I'm working on the car, and I walked down the side here, literally the only thing that I've left. I don't know, I'm in a little bit of shock, guys. And I looked at it and I went, the top of that is exactly what I need to adapt this. I think in the past, I thought maybe I could use it, and I'm talking like, I don't know, 8 months ago, but I was like, nah, the measurements are too off. Turns out, they're perfect. All I had to do was drill 2 holes and slot them and put it in. So let me take you underneath and show you exactly what it looks like. And there it is there, guys. So you can see, so previously on the sides of here were big rubber chunks. I'll try and put a picture in of what it looked like originally. And I just cut them off because it was all just pure rubber. Drilled the holes for those bushes right there, and the holes for the actual gearbox were already there. So bolted that in and it's perfect. As you can see from underneath, it lines up really, really well. You can just access all the bolts for it. They're spring washed, so they're not going anywhere. The other issue was height. So if you can see, if we come back here, obviously we need clearance up here, right? And there's only just a little bit, but there is enough that it doesn't hit. Now, there was enough when I put 15mm spaces in here. I've put 17.5mm spaces in here because, I don't know if you can see, but the chassis rails are significantly lower than the gearbox, right? Lower than this, lower than absolutely everything. The chassis rails are the lowest point. So 3mm of extra clearance would just be nice for me. Well, extra 2.5mm of clearance. So I made these 17.5. And funnily enough, if you know glass fencing, like around pools, that's what they are. So they're big chunks of aluminium, and I've cut them down, drew it, like it bored out the hole in the middle a little bit, but it's like 5mm thick sidewall and perfect for this. So they're all 17.5mm. So this whole bracket sits down 17.5mm from factory, and it has the gearbox perfectly center. There was no issues of, oh, did I not drill these right, or whatever the case may be. Measured everything. The holes for these are exactly the same distance apart, so it's perfect. I couldn't be more stoked. Now, the only thing I have to do under here is put all of that back, which is the heat shielding for the exhaust. Obviously, exhaust is going to run down here, and then it will shoot across here. Then it will shoot way down there. And then on a 45, and then on a 45 out the back towards Klaus. All right, so he's the exhaust right now, hey? You're noisier than the exhaust, mate, aren't you? Yeah. You're quiet on camera, but God, he's noisy. Anyway, your boy is stoked. Oh my goodness, it's bright today, boys. So we're done. Now, I am done absolutely everything that I can do bar one thing, which doesn't hold up everything, anything, but I'll explain. Now, the exhaust is going on next weekend. It's really, really hot this weekend, so I said to the boys, don't worry about it, because it's not fair to get them welding in that kind of heat. I'm going to put the heat shielding back in right now. The only other thing is the aircon lines. I haven't done them yet, but they don't hold up any of the wiring, the tuning, the running, anything like that. I would like to get them done, and to be fair, it's going to be a little bit of time before it goes off to get wired, so I may still just throw that in. But technically, it is ready to go and get wired up and everything. They could wire up the compressor, they could do everything, it's just it doesn't have the lines there to actually technically run. But I'll probably do it. Doesn't need to be in this video because we are done, boys. Essentially, we're done. I could get the exhaust done next weekend, put this thing on the ground, trailer it straight to get wired up. So finally, we're buttoned up. Everything's finished. Thank you for coming along on this video, boys and girls. And please like, comment, subscribe. I hope you're as excited as I am to see this thing finally running. I am literally beside myself excited. I'm so proud that I've got to this point. Obviously, we still have to throw fluids in it and all that kind of thing. And if there's any leaks, I need to fix that. But I'm confident. I'm quietly confident. But thank you for coming along. I'll see you all in the next one. See you guys.